The Nintendo Switch is hacked, but we're going to also look into the Smach Z. Gaming on Linux joins our giveaway cult. Ubuntu 18.04 is launched. We talk about our support for Linux Journal, what we've been playing, what we've been tweeting, and our topic of the day is how many Linux gamers are there anyway? All this and more on Beta 0.05 of Mostly Linux on Mostly Gaming. Thank you for joining us, everybody, here on week number 0.05 of our beta podcast, Mostly Gaming with Mostly Linux. It's been quite a run here for the last month as we've been putting the podcast together. It's a lot of hard work, let me tell you. You think you just kind of get in front of a mic and you talk, but it's a little more involved than that. Right now, I've got 4 monitors around me. I've got 4 monitors and a cat that is looking to jump on our keyboards, and we're gonna have to figure out a way to keep her away from the technology. Okay. So this week we've got a bunch of subjects that we want to touch on. The first one, let's just gonna jump right into it here. The first one is this story about the Nintendo Switch, which has been hacked. It's been hacked, and it has been shown running Doom 3. Here it is right here from iodoom3.org. I do not have a video and wasn't able to find a video. Cat is trying to bite my nose. Here's a question here. Why is a Doom game one of the first things to be done on a modded Nintendo console? And somebody says Doom is pretty much the first commercial game ported to any homebrew enabled system or one time. So it's there. Now, does that mean that we're going to be able to put Steam on a Nintendo Switch anytime soon and use it like a Nintendo Switch for Steam or Linux gaming? The answer is no. I thought that would be the case too, and I kind of did some digging here to try to figure out what exactly does this mean that it's been hacked and you can run Linux and Arch and a couple of other distributions have been shown on it. So what does that mean? It means that pirates are happy. It means you can possibly put Arch on it or your favorite Linux distribution and, I don't know, watch Netflix. But it doesn't mean that you'll be able to game. The issue here with gaming is that games are optimized for Intel processors, and this is using a Tegra X1. I don't know if Steam would run under the Tegra X1, but I do know that games will not run on a Tegra X1 on a Nintendo Switch. The Switch is not a very powerful console. They have done some amazing things on it. It's basically as powerful maybe as a new cell phone. Maybe not as powerful as a new cell phone, actually. Kind of equivalent to the Snapdragon 835. Maybe not quite that powerful. But they've done some amazing things on it. So kudos to Nintendo and to the developers and to the hackers here who have been able to get Linux to run on it. But if you're going to want to game on a portable, hey, that's the cat's walking on my keyboard again. If you want to game on a portable, your best shot right now is what? The Smach? The Smach is a thing? Well, apparently it is. Let's take a look at this trailer here for a second. If you're on the audio stream, apologies. You can't see it, but you'll be able to hear it. Now, warning as this loads, I believe this is absolute horse shit. I don't know if it is going to load. I see that it's streaming here. Maybe they haven't paid their YouTube bill or something. But in any case, the Smach is, for those of you that are not aware, the Smach ran a Kickstarter. I don't know how many years ago now, but quite a few. Shortly after SteamOS and Steam machines were launched, these guys kind of came up, and they had this idea that you would be able to play on a portable. Here's the design. The design, I have to say, looks pretty cool. It's a very interesting looking device. If it was real, I would definitely look to pick one up. But the problem is, and what they've done here is they've gone live. So let's just kind of back up. They've gone live, which means that there is a buy clicker here. You can go in and buy it and pre-order it, and they promise that you can cancel your pre-order at any time. They have changed the internals again. It actually makes sense now. They've gone with an embedded Ryzen V1000 processor, which comes with the Vega 8 graphics, which is not the same as the Vega 56 or 64. This is just what they call the graphics that are integrated into their Ryzen APU. It's a good chip. It's a good processor. And all your favorite games can be played there. It says here more than 20,000 games out of the box, from indies to AAA, Steam, GOG, Origin, Itch.io, Battle.net, Uplay, whatever. It comes with a full HD 6-inch screen, ultra fast SSD storage, and DDR4 RAM. Pretty cool that it comes with a Linux distro. Don't remember what they call it. They've made their own Linux distro here apparently. It's probably just like a rebranded Ubuntu, I'm betting. Or you can get it with Windows 10. The Windows 10 version costs like $100 more, which is fair enough. But what are the prices like? Oh, these are in euros. Don't know why it's in euros. Maybe they're not running well in terms of trying to figure out where in the world I am. That's very odd that they're running in euros. In any case, for those of you that are in euros, you can get a sense. I think in US dollars, the Smach Z, I believe, is like $1,000, and the Smach Z Pro is like $1,200, and the Smach Z Ultra is like $1,600 or $1,500. The prices, in whatever way you want to look at it, were pretty out there. I'm going to say. Let me see if I log in. Whether it gives me better prices. Maybe it won't let me log in. Nah, it doesn't want to let me log in. Okay, that's fine. We don't want to log in anyway. You guys are probably gonna spam us with something. I mean, the long and the short of it is, this is an interesting device. I'm being somewhat sarcastic here. It's an interesting device. It's a handheld. It looks like a Steam controller with those kind of touch pads on each side. The problem is, I don't believe they're ever going to launch it, and the prices are very high. They've been talking about this forever. They started off with a Kickstarter. I don't believe anybody that ever put money up for this has ever gotten one. So, caveat emptor, I would not put my money down on this. But if they are able to launch this at some point, and there's 3, 5, 7, 10 reviews, maybe one, that show that there's some decent performance, I might put in for one. But they're pretty pricey too. I'm not sure if it makes sense to buy the low-end model. I'd have to see the performance, but It is pretty cool. I don't know what their issues are with respect to getting it done. It's probably the problem has been getting the performance level up with such a small device with cooling and noise and fans and the other things. Um, it only has one stick on it. I noticed, similar to again the Steam controller. That may be a problem for some. It's not a problem for me though. I don't mind the Steam controller. If these guys can get their act together and actually launch this, it may be interesting. I don't know how much of a market you're going to get though with a $1,500 or $1,600 device. So good luck to you, Smach. So we actually saw this story on Gaming on Linux. Liam Daw, who runs it, posted over here. I'm not sure if Liam is getting a kickback from from ordering anything. Actually, he's not. He's not getting a kickback from that. I kid, Liam. Do not attack me. And when we were there, kind of just checking out, seeing what's new on his gamingonlinux.com, the Linux gaming site, apparently, we noticed that there is a giveaway. Gaming on Linux is doing a giveaway. What? That's our shtick. What are you doing? Taking our shtick away from us. But it is, and we're very happy. Liam, thanks for you're welcome to join the cult. What they've done here is they've teamed up with GOG. Let me see if I can find. Here it is over here. They've teamed up with GOG to give away 50 Hacknet keys to celebrate the launch of Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. I'm not sure what Hacknet has to do with Ubuntu or a new Ubuntu launch or whatever, but we are happy to see that there is a giveaway cult that is growing for our Linux gaming community. Well, he's got a pretty nice rig running here. What has he got? Let's check it out. He's giving it all for us here. He's got Ubuntu 18.04. He's been running it for 4.5 hours. He's got dual 1080p displays. I guess that's okay. He's using the Adwaita theme. What else? He's got a 5960X running at 3.5 gigahertz and a 980 Ti. That's a nice rig. He's got 16 gigs of RAM. Liam, you must be doing well on this Patreon thing. Anyway, they're giving away 50 copies of Hacknet. And you know how our giveaways are basically you post your screenshot of your desktop. It verifies that you're using Linux. The code is good for anything, of course, the Steam code. But we try to encourage Linux gamers, and we do that by basically saying, hey, post your screenshot. And in the screenshot, we wanted to say, we love whatever the developer is for that week. So for last week's giveaway, Tower of Time, it was we love Event Horizon. The week before that, it was for Beamdog. We love Beamdog. And so Liam's got this giveaway. How is he going to do it? And he is going to go with I love DRM free games. I love DRM free games. I do too. And you do, and everybody does, because DRM free games are cool. In any case, good for him. We're happy with this giveaway. It's 50 copies. We've got Hacknet. Hacknet's a decent game. It's kind of like it's almost a visual novel that you're interacting with, in which you are presumably some kind of a hacker. I don't know if I've got let's take a look and see if we've got a. Let's see if we've got a trailer we can run. It is a good game. If you can, if you can do it, I would definitely try to get a copy of the game because it is. It's worth playing, although it's not going to be for everybody. That's for sure. It's a bit slow. There it is over here. It's a bit slow. You're kind of clicky, tappy. You got somebody who's kind of going onto your screen and wants you to do some stuff. But it goes into a deep game. It goes into a deep story. It's an immersive terminal-based hacking simulator for PC. Dive down a rabbit hole as you follow the instructions of a recently deceased hacker whose death may not have been the accident the media reports. The developer is Team Fractal Alligator. Publisher is Surprise Attack. I don't know. I know I've played it. I don't think I've played it much. Let me see if we get an hour. I've played it for 2 hours. So I am not the world's best hacknet player or endorsing the game. Like I said, I've enjoyed it. My issue is I don't really put a lot of time in most games because I don't have a lot of time to game in general. If you want to win a copy, simply say, this is from Liam Dawes Gaming on Linux website, simply say, I love DRM free games somewhere in your comment to be entered. Competition closes 7 p.m. tomorrow. What? It's over. They did 50 codes in one day. That is crazy. How many? They had 360 comments. Okay, so Liam, your traffic is a little bit higher than mine. Okay? A little higher than mine. Good for you. You give away 50, we give away 5. But we gave away 5 copies of Tower of Time, which is a little more modern than this one. But as a result, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to put off our giveaway for a week. I actually thought his giveaway was going to last a week. It looks like it's gone. We still have a copy of Tower of Time to give away. We gave away 4 last week, and we have 1 more to go away. If you go to the Linux_gaming subreddit, you can get some info there. You can also get info at the mostly_Linux subreddit. We've got our own subreddit there where I'm going to post, we don't have a lot of traffic, I'm going to post mostly updates there that are specific to mostly Linux. In fact, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. We've got a copy of Tower of Time. Tower of Time is a great game. I've enjoyed playing it this last week. I wanted to get 50 posts on Linux Gaming to give away all 5. I ended up getting around 20. So basically what I said was if, we'll give away a code to one of the first 5 people to post, one of the first 10, one of the first 20, and one of the first 50. We gave away a copy on our Linux site as well, and I think we got to 20. We didn't get to the 50, which surprises me because why wouldn't you want a game like Tower of Time? Unless it didn't score highly, whatever the reason, we got to 20, and so I've got a code left. And so here's what I'm going to do: the first person that goes to our subreddit. Let me see if I can find it here on screen for those of you that are watching the video. Go to Reddit, find our subreddit, which is mostly_Linux. Mostly_Linux. And in there it says, the very top posts. The very top post is get your screenshots ready. Tower of Time is our next at mostly_Linux giveaway. Details below. Go in there and post "We love Event Horizon." Just post in there We love Event Horizon. First person to post will get the code. First person to post will get the code. It's as simple as that. Just post. If you already see somebody there, you can still post, but the code's going to go to them. I'd like to eventually move our giveaways to our own subreddit here, because some of the other guys, some of the other subreddits don't like giveaways going away, I guess, to on their sites, and I'd rather just keep it here home with everybody. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so post "We love Event Horizon" in the mostly_Linux sub, and you'll get the code. Alrighty, so that's that. So we've got things developing here with giveaways. We like giveaways because giveaways help to build the community, and Liam and I had not the best relationship when we first connected with each other. Over something that is really kind of water under the bridge right now, but we are very happy to see giveaways. Look, I would think that there is no bigger site for Linux gaming than Gaming on Linux, and it's an important site for the community. Liam is very quick to update, stories and so forth. He does a reasonably good job. We have our differences in terms of how we think that we should approach the community, but our objectives are the same. And so good, good for him. Hopefully everybody enjoyed getting their copy of Hacknet, and maybe it went to some new Linux gamers. In conjunction with this Linux 18.04 launch, which is our next topic. So 18.04 was launched. That is probably the big story of the week. 18.04, the next LTS Ubuntu. And we took it out for a spin on one of our machines. I'm not a big fan of Ubuntu. I find it. I'm not even sure what I don't like about it. I find it awkward. I find things just don't seem to work without having to do the extra step. I don't know why that is, and it could be a philosophical issue. I use and I have used for some time now, probably about a year, Solus. It could be that Solus is better, and I have I'm basically using something that is better for me, and so therefore when I go back to Ubuntu, it doesn't seem as good, but I don't know. I don't know what the issue is there that I don't like. I just know that when I use it, I just don't like it. But let's take a look and see what's new. So they've a lot of time, effort, and newsprint has been spent on Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. It's called Bionic Beaver. The naming scheme basically is goes through the alphabet, A, B, C, D. They started off with Artful Aardvark, which was 17.1, and 18.04 is Bionic Beaver. Now, for those that are not aware, the numbering for Ubuntu is pretty simple. It goes with the year, so 2018 makes it 18, and then the month is .04. That's April 2018. So the next update, typically once a year. The 04 updates are what are referred to as long-term support. Those are updated every 2 years. So the next LTS version will be 20.04. That's 2020.04 on a 2 year cycle. The next interim release, which is kind of like the interim update, will be 19.10. Which will replace 17.10, which came out last year. So in October, basically of odd years, you get the interim .10 updates, and in even years you get the LTS updates. That's how Ubuntu works. I like rationality, and that's as rational as you can get. Just have a rule. Now let's take a look and see what's new in 18.04. First, GNOME Shell replaces the Unity desktop. And the GNOME Shell is quite different than it was before. They had the Unity Shell, or whatever they call it, the Unity desktop that they ran before, which was atrocious as far as I was concerned. Maybe that's one of the reasons I don't like it. GNOME Shell looks similar to the Unity desktop. I don't use either. If you take a look at our desktop over here, actually we're using Cinnamon. The good thing about Ubuntu is there is your choice of whatever desktop environment you use. There's Mate, there's Budgie, there's XFCE. Basically, they're all out there. KDE, the Ubuntu version, was just launched a few days late. And Cinnamon is the Linux Mint desktop environment. It's actually quite nice. If you kind of are looking here on the video, you can see it's smooth. Cinnamon also allows for widgets, which I'm a fan of. Whereas I don't believe you can put widgets on the GNOME desktop or the Budgie desktop. Correct me if I'm wrong. At least I know that you can't do it easily, because I looked for the widgets and I couldn't find them. So the GNOME Shell is there. Again, I'm not a big fan of the GNOME Shell, so it's not a big deal for me. If you are a big fan of the GNOME Shell, then hip hip hooray! You got a new version with a lot of new cool things on it. The buttons are where they should be now too, and they see that as a big victory. What do they have here? There's a window switcher, a launcher, the apps button. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, they're hyping stuff that I think is just kind of basic operating system fundamentals. Ubuntu still uses Xorg by default. 17.1, so the last interim version switched to the modern Wayland display server by default. And I think they couldn't get it stable enough for whatever reason. Wayland is widely regarded as the future, and you can still switch to it when you're running it. Basically, when you log in, you can choose to go Wayland or Xorg, but apparently Wayland has some compatibility issues. I haven't run into any. I do have, so on my desktop here, I'm running this right now in Cinnamon, but I basically loaded up pretty well, every desktop environment that I cared to check. So I've got XFCE, I've got KDE, Plasma, I've got them all. I can basically go into the different ones as I see fit. I think, again, the Cinnamon one, to me, looked the best. I like my screen to look good. I spend most of my time looking at a screen, and I don't want it to be ugly. And so the Cinnamon one is good, but you can basically go in through any one. I did have a problem with OBS. It could be the compatibility thing. I'm pretty sure I was running GNOME through Wayland. I jumped in to basically run OBS, and it couldn't capture the screen. So I logged out, came in through Cinnamon, which uses Xorg, and you can see here the screen is captured and everything is good. So yeah, there are compatibility issues. So it goes back to Xorg. Um, what other reasons? So Will Cook provides some other reasons why Xorg is still the default. Screen sharing tools like Google Hangouts and Skype work well with Xorg, and so do remote desktop utilities like RDP and VNC. Xorg is also better recovering from underlying shell crashes without losing your graphical session. Work is ongoing to improve Wayland for these cases, but Ubuntu 18.04 LTS is sticking with the tried and tested Xorg for the next few years. So they're going to defer I guess Wayland till the 20.04 release. I'm sure that the next update will be the 19.1 release for the interim version, if you really care. I don't know. I mean, that stuff is so niche, you know, like you know that my phones are going crazy. What else here that we've got for Ubuntu? Ubuntu now supports color emoji. Woo-hoo! Don't care. Ubuntu collects and uploads more data about your PC. This popped up actually when I was installing. This was controversial because the default option, as you can see here, is yes, send system info to Canonical. And apparently they want to collect more data about your PC. For a variety of reasons, including just basically getting access to the information so they know who's using the system. All this information will be publicly available so people can see how many Ubuntu users there are and view statistics about their hardware and software. It also is able to tell investors, if you're looking to do an IPO, how many users you have and what kind of users they are and what kind of rigs they have, and maybe some demographic information, and maybe that's good to put in a prospectus somewhere. In any case, I switched it to no, don't send system info. I think, look, we on the Linux part of the world many of us are here partly because we're privacy freaks. We don't want to be used as tools for somebody else's business plan, at least not by default. And you should have actively needed to press yes in order for this to be the default. I think this is a little cheesy, whatever. Click it to no if you're using it. Don't send the system info. There's no, I'm using the operating system. It's an open source operating system. Canonical, you do not own the operating system, believe it or not, okay? You guys are the guys that are basically putting it together. It is open source. Trying to basically monetize it. I am all for monetization. I'm a business person. I'm a venture capital guy. Okay, we are big fans of monetization, but monetization should come by choice, not by default. So. And as a venture capitalist, I value your data much more highly if you can tell me that the data comes from somebody having to actively do something. Actually, active participation is something in the order of 10 times more valuable to investors and sponsors than a default thing. Whatever. They need their data, take your data, but you're not going to take mine. What else do they say here? Live patching allows kernel patching without rebooting. This is actually kind of an interesting thing. So what they've done is they've put together something called Canonical Live Patch, which helps keep your computer secure by applying some updates that would normally require restarting. So you can set up your live patch, and when the kernel is updated, apparently you don't need to reboot. I would reboot anyway, to be honest with you, just because I don't know what's going on in the background there. But when this feature is enabled, you can install Linux kernel updates without rebooting your system. Okay, so this is particularly important on Linux servers where you don't want any downtime. That makes a good point. Okay, so now I understand what they're coming from right now. If you're running a server, you need the uptime. You don't want to basically patch your kernel and have to reboot your entire server. So this is not really a desktop point, although it is support on desktop PCs and can be enabled graphically. You need an Ubuntu One account. to set this up. I've got one again that may also be used for user data and so forth. Whatever. I mean, I just want to be able to update my kernel more effectively on Ubuntu. It's not a rolling release, so you're often stuck with an older kernel as the new ones come out. And to the extent that this makes kernel updating easier and faster and more secure and less buggy, it's a good thing. I'll give you my Ubuntu One credentials if in exchange for that. But again, this is not a desktop thing. What else? A minimal installation option. This is a good thing. We see it in a lot of we see it in 17.1 builds as well. I think it's in other distributions too. Look, if you just want to basically install the basics, you don't need to basically put all sorts of the other junk in there. So this just basically makes it a little more I guess a little more flexible for the user. What else? 32-bit Ubuntu ISOs are gone. Good riddance. But if you use I guess lightweight PCs, some Raspberry Pis perhaps. I'm not sure what 32-bit systems are still out there. Maybe it could be some of the Internet of Things stuff. Not sure. I'm not sure what things are using 32-bit ISOs, 32-bit processors out there. But if you do have systems, do not upgrade because there is no 32-bit Ubuntu ISO. What else? Finally, I guess they've got the usual software changes, upgrades. The store, they still have the Amazon link there. And for those that are not following the financial news, man, Amazon had a killer quarter. It is now more valuable than Google and catching up to Apple. It will soon be, by the end of 2018, I'm going to predict that Amazon is going to be the most valuable company in the world. And part of that is they've got over 100 million users. 100 million Amazon, sorry, not 100 million users, 100 million Amazon Prime subscribers. 100 million paying $100 a year or more. But what they've done is they've just said, what, feeling a little tight on cash, so we're going to increase that $100 to $120. So they increase the price by $20, which is still the best value out there, I think. I mean, you get free 1 or 2 day shipping, you get Amazon Prime, you get Twitch Prime, you get all sorts of stuff with the service. They're going to up it up to $120 from $100, but check this out. The $20 difference works out to $2 billion per year. That's going to fall to their bottom line. It's not like they're increasing a bunch of their costs as well. It's, I need $2 billion. Let's increase Prime by 20. That is an amazing business model when you can get 100 million people to give you $120 a year for your services. So Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the history of the world as of this second. And that is how you build a model. That's how you build a business plan that is viable. I have no issues with Amazon. I do complain quite a bit about Facebook, a lot, in fact, about Facebook. I complain quite a bit about Google. You don't find me often complaining about Amazon because I think they provide terrific value for what they do. Anyway, so that's Ubuntu 18.04. Long and the short of it is this. It's not a big deal. It gets a lot of attention because it's Ubuntu and it's something to talk about. And I've spent quite a bit of time, even here on this podcast talking about it when there's not much to talk about by my own admission. But it's an update. It's Ubuntu. if you like Ubuntu, you're going to like the update. If you are not an Ubuntu fan, is there anything here for you to switch over from Fedora or Arch or Solus or Debian or whatever? No, no. It's you're going to basically run it up, and it's basically Ubuntu. So, um, but you know what? Progress is progress, and that's what it is. But you know who we do support? We support Linux Journal. Actually, let's take a break right here. I'm going to come back after the break, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Linux Journal and why it's worth supporting. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us here on at Mostly Linux, on Mostly Gaming. So let's just jump right into it here with Linux Journal. For those of you that don't know, Linux Journal is an amazing monthly magazine. It's a digital magazine on Linux related stuff. It's been around for many years. It folded a while ago. Kind of, it's tough running magazines. I'm not sure if you've heard that. It's tough running magazines in the world of the internet, and it was rescued and brought back to life. And they're working to rebuild it. Through subscriptions. I think the magazine is like $35 a year for 12 episodes. Terrific value. Look, we here are all interested in Linux because we're here using Linux and using Linux enough to care about listening to Linux-based podcasts. Now, this is not a sponsored post or anything. They're not paying me. I pay them, in fact. But having access to an ecosystem of not only gaming and websites. We were talking a little bit earlier on about gaming on Linux, but also great magazines, quality magazines like Linux Journal is part of the ecosystem. And so just a little shout out to them. I've been enjoying their magazines. I've subscribed. Again, it's $35 a month. You can also support them on Patreon. It says there, become a patron. We're whatever the top tier there is, like $20 a month. We're $20 a month supporters over there, which is pretty pricey. That's like $250 a year. That's an expensive magazine subscription. If you can swing it, do it. We need things like this out there. But even if you can only afford $1 a month, that's cool. If you don't want to support it on Patreon and want to just basically subscribe to it, it's $35. Okay, it's like a couple of cups of coffee at Starbucks or whatever, and you get 12 issues. It comes in EPUB, PDF, whatever formats you want. You can read it on your Kindle. You can read it on your screen. You can read it on your whatever the Barnes and Noble Nook thing, and it's good reading. The June issue is actually, I think maybe the July issue. One of these issues is going to be on gaming. We're going to try to get an article in there for that. June, July, probably the July issue, I think. But even if we don't, who cares? It's a great magazine. I just wanted to give them a shout out because I was looking through their latest issue and really enjoying it, and I thought, we need to support this kind of stuff. Anyway, enough with that. Let's go and take a look and see what we've been playing, because it's been a busy week at work. Have not been in a situation where I've been playing a lot of games. But let's just take a look here at our screen. So what do I've got? I've got Tesla versus Lovecraft. I've only got 18 minutes in it. Tesla versus Lovecraft was our giveaway last week, a couple of weeks ago in any case. It's a cool dual stick shooter. you know what? It's worth supporting and checking out. We gave away 4 or 5 copies, um, but it's worth looking into it at the very least. I need to put some more time into it. I've only got 18 minutes onto it. Space Tyrant is another one of our giveaways. Um, I've got 12 hours in this, so I think this was maybe our February giveaway. Um, Space Tyrant is another tremendous game. These games do not get enough. It's very hard for indie guys like Blue Wizard, and they really get their game out there. Part of the I guess part of the sound bites. They're not going to get a lot of mainstream journalist support because it's not going to be spending a lot of time and money advertising on their sites. But I put in 12 hours. It's a good, fun, strategic game. I have not finished it. My intention is to finish it. But how can I finish it when I keep going back to things like Darkest Dungeon? I don't even have the DLC. I've got 16 hours. Let me tell you, I've got 16 hours and I've never finished a game. I've never finished one round to the end. Darkest Dungeon is just kind of one of those games that I go to. I've got an hour or whatever. Last night I was in a bedroom. My wife was watching her crime show on TV, and I just basically launched Darkest Dungeon and played through a little bit on that. It's so much fun. It's such a deep game. The gameplay is fantastic. It's creepy, and the voice acting is just better than any voice acting I've ever experienced in a game. Very positive reviews. Red Hook Studios has a big winner. They've got a bunch of DLC that I eventually want to get around to playing as well. I actually, I promised myself that I would never run XCOM again. And there I was yesterday running XCOM. And having said that, I didn't actually play much. XCOM 2, how many hours do I have? This is going to be embarrassing. I have 451 hours into XCOM 2. That is my game of shame. 451 hours in XCOM 2. Now that includes a bunch of time in XCOM. I got this on launch day. A bunch of time in XCOM. A bunch of time in the various DLC. I played a bunch of the Long War, which was a fantastic mod, and then the War of the Chosen, which came out, I believe, last year. War of the Chosen is basically the definitive edition, let's say, of the game. And I've rage quit that game more times than I care to remember. We had I can only play this game on Iron Man mode, which is basically permadeath. If you don't know, in XCOM, you can basically play the game through save scumming, where basically you can save, do a move, and save, and do a move, and save, and do a move, and if you die, you just reload and try it again. That way is not fun for me. I need to have the sense that if my character dies, that's the end of that character, and that is called Iron Man mode. And going through War of the Chosen, which is a little more difficult than the regular game, I load up. I go through the Iron Man mode. Play through. Usually get to maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 hours of the playthrough. And what happens is, if you're not fresh when you're playing, like if you're playing the game and you've been playing it for a couple of hours and you're kind of feeling a little tired, stop. Okay, stop and put the game away. Because if you're playing on Iron Man, you are going to make mistakes, and that will be the end of your run. And I ran through War of the Chosen, I don't know, maybe 5 times, and I got to that point. You get tired, you push forward, you make mistakes, and my team dies. And then you've got your backup team. You got to rebuild. You go through that. You die. You take chances, and that's it. The 20 hours that you've spent on that run are pretty well dead. You can basically try to rebuild it, but it's going to be very, very difficult, and you might as well start fresh again. And when I get to that point, I rage quit, and I say, I'm never going to play this again. And I did that. The last time I did that was probably, last year. And then here I was with everything else on my list of things to play, and I loaded it up again. Good news is I kind of went through that first mission, and I thought, I gotta stop. This is not something I can play casually. It's going to get its grips into me, and then every other game that I'm playing is going to be put in the back burner. So I was successful in that. My other game of shame is Divinity Original Sin 2. You can see 129 hours. This is a game of shame because there's no Linux version, and there's no clear path to a Linux version. They've been coy. Actually, they haven't been coy. They haven't said anything about a Linux version in quite some time, and it doesn't work, at least on NVIDIA and Steam. It doesn't work on via Wine. So I actually have Windows on at least one machine to dual boot just to play this game. And I'm constantly lobbying for Larian to basically provide this game. In one recent kind of Twitter back and forth last week, they said they have nothing to announce at the moment. Okay, at the moment. So that means at some other moment, I got back to them with this. So at some other moment, you may have something to announce, which is very, very good news. They didn't respond to that, but I'm hopeful that this comes to Linux. If it does come to Linux, I can tell you that I'll buy another copy and give it away, just so that it counts as a Linux purchase as well. This is one of the best games that I've played in the last 10 years. It is a fantastic, fantastic game. We need this game. This is exactly the kind of game that should be on Linux. And I know that they've announced recently that they're moving over to the PS4 and the Xbox. You can play this game now with a controller. It's really not as good with a controller. I don't mind controllers. I'm not, a KBM snob. I use my controllers and my Steam controllers, my Xbox controllers, my PS4 controllers. I have no issues with any one of them. But this game is not as good. It's just not. We did just a couple of other things. I did toss in some time for Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's been the talk of the Linux community for the last little while. You can see I've got 26 hours into it. Last played yesterday. I haven't finished it. I'm going to put it on hold. It's still a little glitchy. I'm running Solus, as I said. So Solus does not allow you to basically update your NVIDIA drivers willy-nilly with beta. It's a stability-focused rolling release. And what a rolling release means is that the Linux kernels and the other stuff are constantly updated, which is good for performance. But when you have a rolling release, things can go wrong and your system can become unstable. So what you need to do, at least what Solus does, is they try to limit the things that can go wrong until they can test them. So while there may be a way for somebody to manually update the NVIDIA driver to the beta 396, it's not something that I'm inclined to do. So without it, you can still play the game. Game mode, which is the I guess the CPU focused. What the game mode does, and Farrell and I guess the guys at Solus worked on it together. It's essentially something that puts your CPU into performance mode. It makes sure that it's not on a battery saving mode. I haven't really seen, it's not going to make a huge difference, but you can just go into your terminal and type in, if you're on Solus, game moded minus D, and that puts your CPU into game mode. I don't know, makes maybe a little bit of a difference. I haven't noticed much myself. The bigger issue is just that it's a little glitchy on the 391 driver. So I'm going to put that game aside until I get the upgrade. This machine here it's the Den 970 running. It's an i5 4460 at 3.2 gigahertz with the GTX 970. Yeah, it runs fine. It's the issue is not the frame rate per se. It's that it stutters, and the frame rate can be at 70 frames per second on high or whatever settings I've got, and then clip down to 5. And for an action game, that's just not good. It's not good to have that. So, but it didn't stop me from putting in 26 hours into it. So what am I to complain? Tower of Time was our giveaway last week. Put in about an hour and a half. This is a really, really fun game, and thank you very much to Event Horizon for participating with us in our game code giveaway. Well worth your time. If you're looking for something kind of cool to play, it's an RPG. It's a tactical RPG where you're basically going through this inverted tower. You want to get the tower has somehow been buried in the earth, with the bottom of the tower kind of at the bottom, under the ground, and the top of the tower basically at the top. So you're basically trying to go down to the bottom of the tower and try to figure out what happened. And the battle system is turn-based, semi-real time. So it's kind of tactical, not quite like XCOM, but inspired by something like that. So again, thank you very much to Event Horizon for the giveaway. We've enjoyed our 90 minutes of playtime with it, and definitely want to get back. What's this? Guns of Icarus. Ooh, I think that's a shared game with Grey's and Evan. I don't think I've played that much. I think I may have installed it. The Fall likewise, but those are the primary games that we've been playing. The rest of the stuff down here looks like we played it this month. These are the games we played this week. Lots of stuff. I mean, the ongoing issue with gaming is just we're overwhelmed by the richness of choice. And one of the arguments I make is a silly argument, I will admit, but one of the benefits of Linux gaming is that we don't have access to the other 70% of the games out there. Can you imagine if we had access to every game? How could we possibly? I can't possibly get through it right now. So being somewhat impoverished little Linux users that don't have God of War to play, sometimes can make you a little better off, because you can just focus on what you have and what you can play and not on everything else. But even at that, I've got too much and I'm not getting around it. In any case, let's take a break right there. We'll be right back. And we're back here on Mostly Linux, on Mostly Gaming. Thank you for sticking with us. Our next topic here is what we've been tweeting, where we go through our Twitter feed and see what the hell we've been talking about all week. If you want to follow us on our Twitter feed, it's at mostly_Linux. We tweet things that are mostly about Linux. And if you follow us there, you get a sense. Anyway, let's take a look. So, nice work. Here's our first kind of response. Oh, okay. So here's a cool one. PC Gamer. PC Gamer built a PC using a cardboard box as their case, and their story was forget Nintendo Labo. We built a PC using a cardboard box. Flammable and flimsy as hell, but they got it done, and they went through the project. And you can go through the story yourself. It's you know what, it is crazy, it is stupid, but I love stories like that. So we tweeted that out with the post. Nice work at PC Gamer. Now toss a fresh copy of Manjaro Linux, and you are ready for some serious gaming. What else have we been tweeting? We tweeted some stuff for Tower of Time. That got some good responses there from Event Horizon. I was complaining a little bit about... so there's a story. So here's the story. So Screen Rant ran a story about the fact that Paramount is working on 2 new Star Trek films. And... not clear what they're going to be. One of them is a continuation of the existing alternate timeline universe, but Quentin Tarantino has his own project, and those might be separate projects, and they may be splitting them out. And they were basically speculating as to what that could be. And my post here basically says, I can't understand why this studio refuses to either reboot Star Trek The Next Generation or push the series forward in the timeline. We've got Discovery. For those of you that are Star Trek fans, Discovery was actually quite good, but that's based, pre Enterprise, pre the original Star Trek. Takes place about 10 years before that. Then you've got the Star Trek movie franchise, which is in an alternate universe, an alternate Star Trek, the original series universe. And last we saw, The Next Generation was with, Shinzen, with Data dying, that last movie, whenever that, stuff was, a number of years ago. And that's basically as far forward as the Star Trek universe goes in terms of the cinematic or television universe. The books have pushed it forward, but I'm not really even sure if the books are quasi-canon. But I think at some point, the next movie is going to have to come out that basically expands the timeline. And I would love to see a Next Generation reboot, or a next generation, maybe that takes place 100 years beyond that. Something that basically pushes it forward, because it's time to move forward, and I think you're losing out on your brand there, Paramount. We also trolled Elon Musk. Check this out. He says, at Elon Musk says, "Oh, by the way, I'm building a cyborg dragon," which got 449,000 likes and 107,000 retweets. "Oh, by the way, I'm building a cyborg dragon." So we kind of trolled him a little bit and said, even idiotic tweets are deemed worthy of 500,000 likes by your flock. Here's a better question. When are you going to start building cars? And the issue here with Elon Musk is that, man, he talks a good game. He's going to build, spaceships and go to Mars, and he's going to build boring companies and solar panels and battery technology, whatever, the super battery factory and Teslas and all that kind of crap. But he talks the story, but he doesn't actually follow through. I mean, where is all of this stuff that he's supposed to do? I think last month he built like 3,000 cars, and he's way behind in building his newest Tesla Model 3. He can't get up to production on it. So he talks and talks and talks, and now he's talking about building some freaking cyborg dragon, whatever the hell he's talking about, or what drugs he's on. But, why don't you just, build something? Before you go on to the next thing, finish the last thing. How about that, Elon? And who am I to complain? He's like some billionaire promoter guy, but he is a promoter. Okay, he's not like a scientist guy who figures this stuff out. He's a guy that basically gets attention and raises a crap ton of money, and has whatever number of companies that he's got running, and he's trying to combine them because his car company has now bought a solar company, because his solar company was going to go broke, and that would have been embarrassing. None of his companies ever make money. They're money pits. They're money pits that he uses to basically, I guess, attract aspirational people that want to see a better future. On the one hand, kudos to you for wanting that. I'm not sure this guy delivers. And then everything he does has some kind of like a government kickback scheme, right? Solar is like, we're going to be green, and so he gets government subsidies. The battery tech over here, he gets government subsidies for his Teslas. He gets government contracts for his spaceship company. Everything this man does requires a government subsidy. Everything. And you know what? Screw you. We're not fans of Elon Musk. I'm open to changing my mind on Elon Musk if he actually ever delivers on his promises. That's my rant over there. Here's a little more trolling by us. So just on Microsoft. Talked quite a bit about Microsoft last week as well. But this is Aaron Greenbeard, who is, what is this guy's job title over here at Microsoft? He is the GM Games Marketing at Microsoft. Lover of games, music, people, travel, culture, and happiness. He is a lover of happiness. A lover of happiness. Hey, so are we. Anyway, so Aaron Greenbeard, whose Twitter handle is at Aaron Greenberg, is the GM Games Marketing at Microsoft. So he found this worthy of retweeting, which was as follows. Aaron Greenbeard said, "A great quarter and of financial results for at Microsoft, and love seeing the games business having a huge quarter of growth and contribution to the company, plus 18% year over year, sets up well for the future." Yeah, they did have a good quarter. I will give him that. But the post that he is retweeting says, Xbox made $2.25 billion for Microsoft last quarter. No, it did not make $2.25 billion. Okay, let me stop you right there. It does. Making money means that you drive in revenue. Okay, so you sell something. The money that you get is the money that you make, because you have to pay for the stuff that goes into making it. So the way the business works is that you sell something, and then you have to subtract all of your costs. Okay, so if I make and sell you a mouse, and I sell you the mouse for $10, the mouse probably cost me $9.75 to make, right? So the 10 minus the 9.75 leaves me with 25 cents. That is what I make. Okay, the $10 is not what I make. That is what I generate in revenue. Making money means that is what you are left over after you've paid all of your expenses. So $2.25 billion for Microsoft. Xbox made $2.25. That is misleading. Okay, they generated $2.25 billion in revenue. Okay, so my post here basically says it didn't make $2.25 billion. That's a revenue number, not an EBITDA number. EBITDA is that number that I was mentioning earlier that you're left with, the 25 cents in the mouse example. It is not an EBITDA number. I can understand gaming journalists being financially less literate. They're barely gaming literate, but reposting it brandishes it with your support. You know better. Good quarter. No need to exaggerate. I hate bullshit like that. Like it's like they act like we are just the fucking biggest morons in the world, and that they just can basically provide us with misleading information, and we're all just gonna cheer. We're all just gonna cheer, clap, clappy, clappy. You don't have any games for us to play, but you're making a crap ton of money. Why? Why are you making money if there's no games for us to play? Okay. End of that rant. I have one more rant. I was listening to one of the IGN podcasts. I actually listened to quite a few of them. GameSpot and the Xbox One and sometimes the PS4 one, and so they've started this kick where for Hims is some kind of company that basically sells balding or erectile dysfunction. What they basically do is apparently like you call them in, you get some doctor like on a screen who basically writes you a script, and I guess you pay the doctor for the screen. I'm not sure what their model is, whether they probably get a kickback on whatever the script is that you get. But it's basically some kind of a, I won't call it a scam, but some kind of a thing where you basically get guys to worry about the fact that they have problems, and then you basically have I don't know, like some kind of a boiler room of guys that can provide you with prescriptions, and then you buy their crap. They ship it to you too, I think. And every single one of these podcasts has the same freaking ads, right? About kind of trying to create anxiety over the fact that you might be balding or can't get it up or something. And so I just kind of posted, some ad tech algorithm somewhere decided that a lot of balding, troubled men with erectile dysfunction listen to IGN's podcasts, which probably is true. But you know what? If you're balding, live with it. Okay, you don't need to have some idiot give you a prescription to make your hair grow back. It won't grow back. Okay, you're gonna look dumber with whatever a hair patch or whatever little stubble you might be able to grow there by taking some pill. Okay, and if you're in your 20s or 25 or whatever their demographic is, and you can't get it up, go see a real doctor. Okay, you don't need Viagra. There's something wrong with you if you're that age and you can't get it up. Okay, so go see a real doctor face to face rather than get some script from some dude in a boiler room that you heard about on IGN Game Scoop. I guess our last point I wanted to kind of go through, kind of a bit of our topic discussion, though it's not going to go long, is how many, this came up in a discussion on one of the Steam forums for Into the Breach. And if you've been listening to our podcast for a couple of weeks ago, we discussed the Game of the Year contenders for Linux, right? For Linux playable games. And the top two were Into the Breach and Subnautica, both of which do not have Linux native versions, which is crazy, right? I mean, the top two contenders are games that are not on Linux, and you're a mostly Linux podcast. Are you freaking crazy? And okay, so here's our view. I don't give a shit if it's Linux native. Okay? Crucify me. I don't give a shit. Do you know how many Linux systems I've got around here? I run Linux on pretty well everything that I have. I probably buy more games than almost anybody out there. Okay? Almost every giveaway that we have requires us to buy some of the games, right? So if I give away 5 games, I'm probably paying for 3 of them myself. Okay? And we're trying to build the community. We spend a lot of money on Linux gaming. We want to grow the community. And you're not going to grow the community by pissing on people that dual boot or that run wine or whatever. If a game is playable on Linux, it is a Linux game. Period. End of story. I don't give a shit what the technology behind it is. What do I give a crap whether, as a gamer I'm talking about, whether I'm running the game via some wine emulator, not emulator, I know, compatibility layer, or whether I'm running it native. What I do know is I click play on Lutris and the game runs and I play it. That's what matters to me. Okay? And the more games I can play on my machine, the happier I am. Because I'm not here for a holy war. I'm here to play video freaking games. Okay? I'm here to play games. And if I can play the game, that is a plus for me. And if I can play the game really well, like Into the Breach, and it is platinum level on wine, that is a plus for Linux. That will bring more Linux gamers into the fold, the more games you can play. Will that scare off developers from making Linux native games? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Because what matters to them is the size of the user base. Okay? When they're looking at their numbers, they're not necessarily looking at the fact that Rise of the Tomb Raider sold 10,000 copies or whatever it is. Okay? They are looking at the fact that their game might be able to sell 100,000 copies because the user base is 5 million. So what is the user base? What is the user base for Linux? And this is going to be a little painful because it's not that high. Okay, the evidence shows that it's not that high, and I know that Gaming on Linux has run some numbers to try to figure out what the sales numbers are. But let's look through some of the facts that we have, okay, as to what the numbers are. And so somebody on this thread here basically said, can you conclusively prove the Linux market is so small that it doesn't really matter? Probably. My answer is probably. Okay, so let's just basically look at the evidence. The conclusively prove blah blah. We don't have access to the information. Only Valve has access to that information. Okay, so it's an open source environment. We can barely tell any information. We're all against basically giving away our data. I started off this talk by saying that I said no to Ubuntu in terms of getting my data. So how can we know the user base? Pause. So let's take a look at the Linux share of the market based on the evidence that we have. And what is that evidence? Well, first of all, Valve has announced, at least there was a screenshot somewhere, where Valve was basically saying that there are 67 million monthly active users on Steam. And we have that through GeekWire. Here's the link, where Valve reveals Steam's monthly active user count and game sales by region. Now, this kind of information is very hard to get access to because Valve doesn't share their data, at least not with the public. So this is from a story on August 3rd, 2017. I assume it's more now, but let's just kind of go with the numbers that we have. They've got 14 million peak concurrent users, up from about 8.5 million in 2015. They've got 33 million daily active players and 67 million monthly active players. This number is probably higher because of the PUBG effect, where basically a whole bunch of Asian players basically jumped in. But that's 67 million. That's data point that we have from a Valve presentation. So in March, if we take a look at the Steam survey for March, we see that Linux users made up 0.33% of the market. 0.33% of the market. That's up 0.5%, or actually not 0.5%, up 0.05%. So basically flat. Most popular Linux distro is Ubuntu 16.04, followed by Ubuntu 17.1. It'll be interesting to see if 18.04 starts creeping up over here. But there's a lot of Linux distributions. I mean, even Ubuntu is, It doesn't break it down beyond there, at least not that I can see. Maybe it does. No. 16.04 is 0.07% of the total market share, but 0.33%. So if we take, so this is, over here, this is the monthly active users according to Valve, right? And over here, this is a Steam survey. It gives you what operating system those users had, and it's 0.33%. And some people like to argue that it might be higher, might be lower. The numbers are here or there, but let's just go with the numbers to see what the numbers tell us first. Okay, so at 0.33% of 67 million, that works out to 221,000 total monthly users. And so how can we verify? Is that number right? Is it 220? Is it 250? Is it 300? I don't know. But it's let's just say it's going to be between 200 and 300,000. Right? That makes sense. Depending on the numbers, give or take. But that's the magnitude of what we're talking about. We're not talking about 2 million or 20 million. We're talking to a few 100,000. And when we take a look at the Linux gaming subreddit, there's 63,000 members of Linux gaming, which is a good number and kind of corresponds to, that 200,000 to 300,000 monthly users. This is not the total user base, mind you. This is a monthly. This is how many people are playing on Linux every month. And it makes sense that, a lot of them might also be going over to Linux gaming. And so 25, maybe 20% of the gamers are also going to check out the subreddit. That kind of makes sense to me. I mean, that's reasonable, right? If I take a look over here, if I go to, let's say the PC gaming, or gaming in general. Let's take a look and see what gaming is. So gaming subreddit has almost 18 million. Okay, so 18 million in gaming, but that's all gaming. Is there a PC gaming one? Let's take a look at that. PC gaming subreddit. PC gaming subreddit has 626,000 gamers. So that's roughly 10 times what we see on Linux gaming. That's actually pretty impressive. I will say, if we're 0.33% of the market and Linux gaming is 10% of PC gaming, that means that there's a heck of a lot of Linux gamers that are on that Linux gaming subreddit, or the percentage is much higher. So let's explore this a little further. So PC gaming has 626,000, so that's 10 times bigger than Linux gaming. And there may be some overlap there because, for example, I'm on PC gaming as well. So there's probably overlap between Linux gaming and PC gaming, but probably not overlap between PC gaming in general and, with Linux gaming, unless you're a Linux gamer. In other words, you could be a gamer on Linux and still be a PC gamer, but if you're a PC gamer, you don't use Linux, you're not going to be over at the Linux gaming sub. Let's take a look at another one here, just another kind of data point, and see what PC Master Race, PC Master Race. That's 1.4 million. Interesting that that's bigger than PC gaming. Okay, so those are our data points. So here's kind of the way that I look at it. Okay, so on the one side, the 200 to 300,000 monthly Linux gamers seems to coincide well with the Linux_gaming data, assuming that assumes that 20% of the user base uses Reddit, which may or may not be accurate, because we see roughly 5% of the of the non-Linux gaming market using the Reddit threads. So the question is, I guess, if we're going to extrapolate here, If the user base is 66 million, okay, and the Linux gaming sub is 67,000. Now you've also got, SteamOS and a couple of other smaller Linux communities out there, but that's the main one. Our data, that the 0.33%, would imply several 100,000 gamers, which, to be honest, as I think about it here in real time, seems like it's too high. 20% of all of the Linux gamers using the Linux subreddit seems high to me. Seems high. Would imply, the 0.33% would imply 25% actually are on there. Whereas the PC Master Race one is at roughly 5%. Is that even that high? Let's take a look here on our calculator and just do the numbers properly. So we've got 67. So let's just go 1,396. That's PC Master Race divided by 67 million. That works out to 2%. 2%. And so we've got 67,000 on Linux gaming divided by, let's call it 250,000, which is the 0.33 number, based on the Steam survey. That would work out to 27%. That is high. That is actually quite high. That's very interesting. That is quite high. And I don't think that is justifiably that high. PC Master Race people are the people that are most enthusiastic about PC gaming. And it probably includes some Linux gaming people in there as well, like myself, who, I'm a member of both. So what is that right number? That is a good way of looking at it. So if we take a look at the data, let's say, for example, 10% of Linux gamers are on Linux gaming. That would mean 670,000. 670,000 divided by 67 million is closer to 1%. Which may be the better number. That may be the better number. That may be the better number. In fact, my gut feel is that that's the right number. And it could be for a variety of reasons. But at 250,000, which would be the 0.33, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me with the rest of the data in terms of how many people that are playing on Linux are also on the subreddit. That to me seems very high, that a quarter of all of them are on the subreddit. I mean, there's some stuff with the numbers we're extrapolating, of course, but we're extrapolating it equally between, the other subreddits. So if it's 1%, you're talking about 670,000, maybe 600,000 gamers. So our range, let's say, is probably low end 300, high end 700, maybe topping at 1 million. We're trying to figure out monthly gamers. I doubt it's 1 million, to be honest with you, because it doesn't coincide with some other data that we've seen on Linux use. But that 500, again, I'm trying to extrapolate in real time in my head, and probably 500,000 is where it's going to be. Which, if that is the case, that is a good number, and it would be nice to get that number out there somehow. So let me kind of so take a look. So we take a look back. So if that's the number. Of those, so if we go to Wine Gaming, let me just kind of back up. So what is the What is the wine gaming subreddit? How many people are over there? I don't believe it's going to be very high. There's 3,800. 3,800, that's right. I already got that data from before. So there's 3,800 members of wine gaming. So that would imply basically 5% of Linux gamers are also members of wine gaming, which is very, very low. Very low. And it's possible that a lot of the people that are into wine are also just reading the Linux gaming sub. But why wouldn't you join? It's not like it's a hard thing to join both, like I do, right? So that is very, very low, which means that wine gaming is really not a thing. It's not a thing. In fact, if we take the wine gaming number, then let's just take so if we go 3,800, divided by 0.1, that gives us 38,000, using the same 10% number that we used to kind of get the 670,000. We're assuming that 1% of the user base from the extrapolation. That means it's 38,000. 38,000 monthly wine gamers. You know what? That doesn't seem wrong to me. With 1 out of 10 of them being on a subreddit, maybe. Hard to say. But if that is the user base of wine, you're really not going to lose a lot of sales, from some dude like me going out and using and buying a game that is available only through wine. It's 38,000 people out of 67 million. Okay, so if I'm going to go out and be, one of these wine gamers out there, and that's not the total sales, that's just the total user base. It's a user base of 38,000. It is indistinguishable from zero when you're comparing it to 67 million. 38,000 divided by 67 million is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%. And if you take a look at the 38,000 divided by 670,000, that's 5% of the Linux community, which is very small to begin with. So I guess the long and the short of it is there, just on the wine gaming side, leave people alone who want to basically play their game. There's such a minority that if you are, like, what we need to be is we need to be aspirational. We need to grab the Windows and the Mac users and bring them in. We don't want to beat up the wine gamers. Okay, they are to us what we are to Windows gamers, and Windows gamers don't think of us. So we really should not be spending as much time worrying about wine gamers. But that is an interesting number. So if the extrapolations there that I've just kind of worked with are correct, it may mean that there's 500,000. And I think the best path forward for Linux gaming is to take that if we're at 500,000. First of all, if we are at 500,000 and not at a couple of 100,000, there's got to be a better way to get access to that data and get that to the publishers. But if that number, the best way is to obviously get that number to 1 million and 2 million and 5 million. And wine or no wine, if we are a bigger sized community, there will be more support. The best path through getting more Linux native games, in other words, may very well be making more games available on Linux, period, including through wine. And if that's the case, maybe more people will use our platform. Because there are more and more people using Linux all of the time. Okay, there was the Linux Gamer was posting on an article where he basically said, anecdotally, I'm getting a lot more people visiting my site and interested in Linux gaming, and we see the same thing over here. And that's because Windows sucks. Windows is a horrible, horrible operating system. Forget about freedom and FOSS or floss or all of the stuff that we that are listening to this podcast care about, because that's not normal. Normal people don't give a crap about that. Normal people care about just using their system, not being spied on, having it not crash, making it look good, and just doing their work and playing their games. And Linux is better at most of that. So there are people that are naturally interested in checking it out. And what we need to do is we need to embrace them. We need to sell them on Linux gaming, because Linux, unlike Microsoft and Apple, use marketing people and sales people and advertising, and they make their system look cool, and they push it and they promote it because they have a vested interest in doing that, because they own the platform. Nobody owns our platform. So we are the ambassadors for Linux. We are the marketing people. And you don't sell a product by hitting your customer over the head. Okay, I'm telling them they're a loser and they get off of Linux because they're a noob. And I know I've gone through that before, but that is exactly what that Into the Breach discussion kind of ended up becoming. But by and large, okay, I feel quite comfortable based on just this quick extrapolation that 500,000 is probably the reasonable estimate of monthly active Linux gamers. And if you have some comments in terms of how I've come up with the numbers, I'd be happy to hear your thoughts. I'm not saying that is definitive, but it is as good a guess as I've seen, and hopefully we can continue to kind of work on it and try to get a better sense of what that number is. We'll be back after this. All right, that's it. We're going to call it right there. It's been a busy, long episode with a lot of information and a lot of talk and a lot of discussion. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter at mostly_Linux. We're also available on Twitch, twitch.tv slash mostly Linux without the underscore there. You can find us on our podcast site. I won't give you that because you're obviously here. But please, if you can do us a favor, subscribe rather than just downloading it or listening it once. You can see on the podcast site that there is an RSS feed and a Stitcher feed button. Subscribe either way. I think it's also available on Spotify, but that's really hard to find podcasts on Spotify. It's also available on Google Play. We're not on the iTunes store yet. I have to find a computer that runs iTunes, and I'm mostly Linux, so I don't, I guess I got to get to the Windows. I don't know. Somehow, to get on Apple, you got to have an Apple device, I think. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. We'll try to get on iTunes as well. And also, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, or, you'll find the link somewhere. Our Twitch channel, in our Twitter stream, it helps with just giving us a little confidence that the growth is there. The growth has been pretty good, I have to say, but a little pat on the back is always a good feeling. So thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week.